This is the solution to problem 3.4.17. It's related to quartiles, the meaning of quartiles, how's that related to percentiles, outliers. So it's a really good question to kind of understand conceptually. And so looking at one that's been partially solved here, we have some data. This time the data really though it's summarized data. We don't have all the data, and so many times that's all we have is summarized data. And so we have a summary of it. And so what it represents here is the number of violent crimes in all 50 states. However, we only have three numbers. We have quartile 1, quartile 2, which is the same as the median, so keep that in mind. Q2 is the median. That means it's the value right in the middle, that half of the states are above that, have number of violent crimes in their states is above that number, and then half is below, and then Q3 is the 75th percentile. And so keep that in mind. Right, Q1 is the same thing as P25, meaning that 25% of the data is below this value, and then Q3 is equal to P75. So with that said, keeping that in mind, we have the data. So if you can imagine all 50 states, there will be one state that has the minimum value, the least number of violent crimes, and then you also have one state that will be the maximum, will have the most violent crimes. All we have is the summarized data. So somewhere what we know for sure is in the middle we have Q2, and so from there we know that's 388.5. So half the states are above this, half are below. We then have another number, Q1, which is 273. I'm just going to draw it here. I don't know how symmetric it is, but there's Q1, and the answer is 273.8. So 25% of the states are going to be below this number. And then you have Q3, 529, which is over here. So Q3 is right here. 529, and again, it's not spread out evenly because I don't have all the numbers. I'm just showing you kind of an approximation where it would be located. 29.1. Now that we have the data, we only have these three summary points. I know the data spread out around these points. I know it's 25%. 25% here. That's what they're called quartiles or quarters. Breaks the data up into 4 pieces. So you can see in this first question, provide an interpretation. And so the correct answer is this one here, because as we look, each of these is broken up into 25% here, 25 here, 25% here. So this idea that 75% of the states have a rate that is less than, right? Because this is 100%. This is all of the states. So that's 100%. That's your from here to here. But each of these quarters breaks it up into pieces there. And then the next piece that, and so it's important in this process that we, many times when we analyze statistics or data, we care about where the middle 50% is, and that's the inner quartile range. And so this is what you call the middle 50% right here. And so that's that answer into there, because that's your IQR. So half of the states are between 273 and 529, and that's where your IQR measures the range of values, the interquartile range. The last question that involves some hand calculation, since we don't have the full data set, is would this be an outlier, this question? If the violent crime rate in a certain state of the country this year was 1462, is that an outlier? So 1462 would be somewhere over here, right? It could be the max, but it'll be somewhere on this side of the data here. And so we need to calculate, we have to determine a way to do that. And the way you do that is to calculate a lower fence and an upper fence. And that's the formula that's been provided in the notes in the book, how to calculate the lower and upper fence. And then in this case, to calculate the lower and upper fence, you just use this equation. You know what Q1 is. Q1 is 273.8 minus, and it's again, this is just a formula that was created by statisticians to determine if something is far away from the middle, right? And that's what the lower and upper fence are measuring for us. That's it. So 529.1 plus, again, 1.5. This is just a formula that was given to us. You substitute in there. And then when you do that, you end up with two values. You plug this into the calculator and you get your values. So after you plug those numbers in, you end up with these two numbers. These are lower and upper fences. These are just numbers that we now compare, and we see that 1467 is greater than the upper fence. That means it's outside of it, and so we would say then that that is an outlier. It is an outlier because it's greater than the upper fence on the other side of the fence.